Welcome to the Guy Pie Podcast, featuring Anthony, Chris, John, Sean, and Mark. This is a weekly podcast where five guys come together to make the ultimate conversational pie about the games they are currently playing.
Welcome to the Guy Pie Podcast. I'm Chris. Joining me is Anthony.
Right.
And John.
So I want to also double this as like an apology video. I've said some mean, hateful things about bananas, and I wrote a short song just to kind of, tie things up a bit. I'm sorry, oh bananas, for the way I've been. I've taken you for granted. I've been so dim. Your peels are golden, your taste so fine, but I've let you down. I didn't write this, by the way. This is Chat GPT. But I'm sorry, bananas. I'll be nicer next time.
And
beautiful.
Sean and Mark couldn't join us. They both have banana poisoning, so
It's true.
that is a thing. All right, let's get right into it. First topic today is going to be Call of Duty Black Ops 6 beta. I know me, John, Sean, and Mark just had a session last night playing it, and my God, like there's a point where like my back hurt from just laughing. But I really did enjoy the beta. The hard thing with a beta like that is it's just like a small like taste of the full game. Like in terms of all the weapons you can unlock, everything, like you don't have access to all that. So the excitement wasn't as much there for me. It was mainly just like to get a feel for the gameplay and just play with you guys. But we ended up having, I think it was like a solid 3-hour session with that last night. And it was really, really solid. The omnidirectional movement system is a huge game changer that I can't wait to see be implemented into zombies. Speaking of zombies, we were talking about this last night. I was watching Tim the Tatman do the COD Next, which they had on Friday, I believe. So basically, it was like they had a bunch of content creators for 4 hours. They would play multiplayer, then they played zombies, then they played the updated Warzone. So when he was playing zombies, he changed to third person mode for it. So I think that right there is really dope too, like to give people the option for zombies to either play in first person or third person. So like for you, Anthony, like with like the first Descendant lately, Warframe, when that comes out for zombies, if you're feeling it, you have the option for third person as how it's presented. Yeah, no. I think the one thing I realized before I throw it to you, John, was I think the key is I only invest in Black Ops games because that's the Call of Duty games I only ever really enjoy anymore. I didn't play Modern Warfare 3. I barely played was World War II or was Vanguard the last like I think Vanguard was the last old one. I barely played that. I barely played Modern Warfare 2. It's just Black Ops is what draws me in, and zombies is always that big factor. But how are you feeling after the beta this weekend?
Actually, thoroughly enjoyed it. I played it pretty much all day without you guys yesterday, and I got pretty high up. Like I think before we started playing, I got to like level 15, and I just wanted to get that skin at the end. And the omnidirectional combat actually made me enjoy it more than previous Call of Duty games. I never really get into the multiplayer, but for some reason that aspect kind of helped me out and made me a little bit better at the game, I want to say. Um Otherwise like I can't wait to see like what kind of guns they have. Like they pretty much released the beta with like just the bare bones, like a couple of SMGs, a couple auto rifles. I didn't really toy with many of the auto rifles. I think I did the AK-74 for the majority of the time, and pretty much spent my time like running an SMG and a shotgun, which was dirty. It was a dirty combo, and I loved it. Zombies though, like you're absolutely right about that omnidirectional combat. Like just it'll help me dive into zombies in multiple directions. Like I'll dive backwards into a group of zombies. You know, you'll see it. It'll happen.
And that's the big thing too with that system and them having PhD flopper return, which when you do a diving motion, you cause the explosions. Like you're gonna be able to pull off some like really funny and dope shit with that, 100%.
I can't wait. That's exciting.
Yeah. So Anthony, for you, obviously, you have decided you're gonna pick up Call of Duty strictly for zombies. So like multiplayer side, like how are you feeling right now about like the hype leading up to the release date and zombies?
Yeah, so obviously with my changes in gaming interests over the past few years, I think I'm gonna give it a go. I'm still unsure if it'll vibe, but from what I've know of zombies and what I've seen of like the changes since early zombies, combined with like my kind of current gaming interests, it's enough for me to be willing to pick it up. Again, I think I mentioned I might not be getting it right at launch, probably within a month of launch, but either way, I'll be paying full price, so I'm willing to take that risk. But there is part of me that thinks there's always that chance that I just don't vibe with it. So it's one of those scenarios where I'm really just gonna have to wait and see. But again, all it really takes is some solid systems and functions that carry over from all your matches, like progression type stuff. And those systems, like they don't even have to be. It doesn't have to be a ton of it, just enough that I can visually see what my time here has earned me. And then the gameplay has to be good. And I mean, it's Call of Duty. The gameplay is going to be good, right? So if the systems entice me enough, then I probably will have a good time. Plus, the co op gameplay, like co op gameplay, can sometimes carry me through some shitty games. So I'm sure it'll be able to carry me through any aspects that I'm not necessarily enjoying, like Trials of Osiris, right? That's a great example. And this is very much not Trials of Osiris. It's actually things I do enjoy in shooters. So I'm looking forward to it. But I still do have that thing in my head where I'm like, it would kind of suck though if I start playing it and after like a week I'm like, oh, I don't really enjoy it. But we'll see. Um, it does sound like I will enjoy it, and I hope that's the case. So
I mean, with the popularity of Call of Duty, like absolute worst case scenario, like if you get it and you don't like it, like that week you pick it up, regardless of if it's like at launch or a month later, there's still, I would say, a good shot that you could resell the copy and make a decent chunk of the money back and not get like
that's
totally
true.
burned on it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like as long as the things that were in place with Cold War continue, like at least for me personally, one of the biggest drives for grinding zombies was like obviously for each weapon there are like camos that you could get, and then there'd be like camos tied to specific modes. So like the zombies would have like what's called a mastery camo, where it's like say there's like 6 auto rifles you can use, right? When you complete all the camos for one weapon, you get the first tier of the mastery camo. But then when you complete all weapons, you get the second tier. And then, if I remember correctly, there was a camo for just completing the mastery across all weapons across the board. But like they're dope camos. So like Black Ops Cold War, it was like a dark purple aether like animated camo on your gun that almost made it look like alien like. So like those are in place for kind of like a drive to grind. Obviously, like leveling up your weapons themselves, customizing them, and then leveling up our perks. And so I think there are some things that if you with the combination of the gameplay, which is like Call of Duty, or regardless, I will say like is one of the best feeling like first person shooters out there. Like up there with like Destiny in my opinion. Like those two have just really smooth gunplay that I think that the gunplay and if you get hooked in the loop of like chasing these things, I could see you getting addicted to the zombies. At least for a short time. But yeah.
Yeah, so if we get to that point and it's like I'm all in, okay, I'm enjoying, I'm good, I'm here, sticking around, we'll have to kind of figure out the logistics of like because I think, removing Mark from the conversation, because I don't know if he's getting it, but two, obviously he works opposite shifts from us. There is, I think, like potentially 6 of us or 7 even. So if I hop on for evening and we're like, oh, we have so many people, and then majority is like, let's do, Call of Duty Online. At that point, I'll just be like, okay, guys, have a good night. I'm going to play something else.
I think there will always be the people who want to play zombies. To be honest, like I do like multiplayer sessions. But a lot of times, like I'll either grind multiplayer on my own on double XP weekends, or if we just like John, like we do a dedicated night of like, hey, let's do a prop hunt night or something like that. So, like basically, in advance, you would know, but like I
Okay.
think we're going to try to keep that away from just like somebody being like, oh, hey, let's just all do multiplayer. It's just like, well, like not everyone wants to do multiplayer. Like I'm universal in the fact that like, say if we have like 6 of us, one person's like, hey, let's do multiplayer. I'll be like, all right, you 4 do zombies, and I'll just join that person in multiplayer kind of thing. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
but yeah, Mark is getting it. He surprised us last night by joining us with the beta that you could only play by having purchased the game. So.
Nice.
He did.
Well, it
He
sounds
seemed
like
to be
a good
digging it. So.
Nice.
All right. Any final thoughts on this before we move on? All right. Anthony, you've been playing Fairy Tale? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so how I started into this one was a little interesting. I was really in the mood for. I've been watching a lot more anime recently because I haven't been gaming too much, so I've been filling that time with a lot of different animes. Been checking out different ones, trying to find latching onto a couple different ones, and there's a lot of short ones, right? So, anyways, so as far as gaming goes, I'm like, I kind of want to play like an anime style game, and I'm like, oh well, we just had those a bunch of Sword Art Online games get added. Read through some reviews, and I ended up deciding to download Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet. And the first little bit, I was like, the gameplay feels good. I'm enjoying this. I know the characters. I've seen the anime. But then after like the 2 hour mark, I'm like, okay, this just ain't it. And around the same time, I saw the one of the trailers. I mean, it's just in my feed. I saw the trailer for Fairy Tale 2, which I think they showed at a somewhat recent uh, showcase. And it reminded me, I remember talking to Mark about this, that at some point on a whim, I just bought a hard copy of the first game. And then for some reason, at the time, after I got home, I think I just glanced at the case and I just went, oh, it's an anime game with a roster of characters. It's a fighting game. I'm like, well, I'm just going to leave this sealed. I'm not even going to open it because I don't care about fighting games. And I'm talking to Mark after, at one point, he's like, oh no, it's like a full on turn based RPG. I was like, what the fuck? And I totally forgot about that conversation. So I went through my in this closet here, all my shit's stored in there. I pulled out all the boxes until I got my PS4 games. Pulled this sucker out, popped it in, and it's pretty great. It's I will say off the top, if you removed the fact that it was fairy tale with fairy tale characters, I would say it's a decent game. It's nothing like it's systems and concepts we've seen time and time again in this vein of like anime style games like and so far like I'm not incredibly far in it, but I haven't quite found what this has that uniquely sets it apart from others of the same kind of format. Like a good example would be like Atelier Riza 1, 2, and 3. It's almost the same thing, but what puts that game makes that game unique is the alchemy system, and it adds so many layers to it. This I haven't quite found what is there for that. So if I don't find anything, then I think I would just walk away from being like, this was a great fairy tale game, but it was just a decent game. But it's turn based. The abilities are cool. Characters from the show, like, and I know pretty much all of them. And the cool thing was, recently I was talking to Mark, and I just picked up where I left off with the fairy tale anime, and coincidentally, this game literally starts where I left off. So like I've watched a good portion of it, so I kind of know what's going to happen in like the first bit of this game. But like just the coincidence of that, so that even had me more interested because I'm like, I can literally play what I'm watching, literally. Because it's if you haven't watched the anime, and you jump into this, they do it well enough that you could probably play this story isolated without watching the first like 100 and something episodes that lead up to this. But just a cool coincidence, I thought. Um, but yeah, so I'm not too far in the game. It's really cool. So it's turn based, and you're following the story of the anime. And while you're doing it, one of the details is like some stuff happens, and the the core members of Fairy Tale Guild disappear for 7 years without a trace. So their guild that was like once known as the best guild ever degrades and falls apart, and then when they come back, they reappear, which I won't get too much into in case there's probably considered spoiler territory. They come back and the guild's in shambles. So part of this concept is you're doing missions off your board to increase the rank of your guild. So what I suspect is the further I play, I'm going to go from this little like wooden shack for my guild and probably get like larger buildings till I eventually move back into the OG fairy tale like mansion, which is kind of a cool system. I don't think it's enough of a system to set it apart from its similar games though, because at its core, it's literally just a board with missions that you pick up. Which, like, come on, we that's like any JRPG really. But I'm having a good time with it. We'll see if I stick with it all the way through or not. But so far, it has me interested. Um, and the voice acting is surprisingly pretty good for the English. Um, I do want to switch it to the Jap. Or no, sorry, there's no. I was thinking of I think Sword Art. Yeah, that was what. There's no English voice acting. It's all Japanese, which I'm cool with. I watch most of my anime in Japanese anyway, so. But it's really good. The voice acting. Anything else? Yeah, I mean the character art, like the designs of the characters are perfect. Like Lucy, you know, she looks, like really good. And she's like a mainstay in my party at this point. So yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if I'd recommend it. Like I said, I do consider it kind of just like a decent JRPG. I don't know if it's something I would necessarily recommend unless I knew you were a fairy tale fan. Um, yeah.
That being said, John, have you checked this game out yet, or is it something you would check out?
Okay, so how I'm gonna put this is I do like Fairy Tale. I'm not super far in the anime. I can't even remember where I left off. But the thing about games that are based on popular media, more specifically like turn-based RPGs, is I'll end up playing it and one of two things will happen. I'll either want to just go watch the show or I'll just want to play another turn-based RPG. I find like anything based off of like an anime, like video game wise, usually ends up being pretty lackluster to me. Um, Besides Kakarot, Kakarot was a fantastic game. I never finished it, but it's something I will end up going back to at some point. I can't really see myself getting into this game. Like I said, I kind of want to watch Fairy Tale. I don't think I'm far enough in Fairy Tale to actually enjoy this game without spoiling the actual anime for me. So I think this is a pass for me. I think it's like something that I would put in my mouth and just spit out. So
No, that's fair. Yeah, like after what you said, Anthony, the fact that like unless you have that tie of the fairy tale anime, it is like an okay game. Like as somebody who obviously watches very limited anime right now, like this isn't one of the ones I watch, so I don't have that connection. And even like with turn based, like I do enjoy turn based, but like usually there's like something that kind of like hooks me, like either it's like obviously like Pokemon style or it's just like it gives me like Final Fantasy vibes. Those are the things that can kind of like get me in the door for that. Um but no, it's cool that you're digging it and all that, but yeah, it's definitely not something that would be for me.
Yeah, it would have been cool too. Like when I first popped it in, I didn't learned. I just knew that it was some sort of RPG from when I was talking to Mark. When I learned that it was a turn-based RPG was when I booted up and started playing. I was kind of hoping it was going to be some form of like action RPG because like it's a Shonen Jump anime. Like those are notorious for being like action-packed, big fights. Like look at the Naruto. I know the Naruto games are kind of unique. Like they're one of the few that really garnered a huge fan base. But you can see why. Like look at the fights in those games. Like you like it's if there was any fraction of that kind of gameplay, like action game, this game probably would have been. I think I would consider it much better than it is. And I enjoyed the turn-based stuff. Like the animations of your move sets are great. Um, but it does feel like I'm being forced to be slowed down when I'm sitting here looking at like Natsu, who has like fire magic, like fire magic, fire dragon magic. There we go. And it's just like it just feels slow to what you'd expect these characters to do. Um, but as far as like the way it's constructed is well done for like a turn based. But yeah, just it would have been much better if it was action. Like even like look at Yeez, Wise, Y apostrophe S. Like the action in those games is generally really good. And the Tales series, right? Like I guess at that point though, then it would just be the Tales series, but with fairy tale characters. But yeah,
I
either
believe
way, I'll probably still play them.
I believe the game you're trying to pronounce is called Nathaniel. Not Wise, but
The fuck is
I
Nathaniel?
don't know. I have no fucking idea. Alright, any final thoughts on Fairy Tail before?
It's an alright game.
Alright. Next up, obviously Mark's not here, so I'm moving on to John's mystery game, which I'm assuming is not so mystery since you ended up picking up Stellar Blade. I know you said you weren't necessarily vibing with it last night. Tell us about where you're at right now.
Okay. So I don't want to be that guy and say like I don't like the game because I'm not far enough to actually know if I like the game or not. From what I played which is basically just the tutorial from what Anthony described to me. I can't I can't tell what this game wants to be. I can't tell if it wants to be a Souls-like. I can't tell if it wants to be like a hacky slashy action game like Devil May Cry. It kind of like certain enemies have like that slower combat vibe to them, and certain enemies you want to like try and like kill quick. I just don't know what it's trying to be, and I don't know if it's because I'm not far enough. I don't have enough skills. I don't have enough like I haven't progressed enough. So as of right now, I'm not enjoying it. I probably won't play through it right now, just because I'm kind of in the phase where I was saying to you guys before the podcast, where I need like a game just to shut my brain off and just play. I can't really get into anything like super action packed or anything right now. I'm trying to like relax, I guess. Um but I'm not saying like I'm gonna brush it aside and just forget about it altogether. I'm gonna give it another shot and play through it again eventually. I did purchase the game, right? I don't want to like just waste my money. But like graphically, it looks great. Like the atmosphere is nice. The main character is very nice. Uh, but but yeah, I don't know. Like it's an okay game for me so far.
No, that's totally fair. I when you were talking about like something casual to look up, I was like, didn't we get a? I thought we got like a release date for that Lord of the Rings Shire game, but it doesn't look like we got one. I was gonna bring that up, but no, that's totally fair. I'll let Anthony go first before I get the Stellar Blade. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm the right guy to kind of articulate to someone, like you're very what's the word? Like you have a lot of experience with like the soul genre. So I don't know if I'm the guy to kind of break down like what this is in comparison to that, but as someone who played it through it and doesn't really play Souls games, I kind of found it almost like, aside from the functions that are similar, like the campfire type functions and stuff, I found it more like I was just playing an action RPG that the enemies hit a lot harder. So like even when I was playing on story mode or easy, like if I was not fully attentive and reactionary, that a blunder could still get me fucking killed. Um, that being said, once you get down, one thing I'm wondering, John, maybe this would change for you, because in one of the skill trees, when you go and look at it, you can see that it's not just button mashing to swing your sword. There's like full on combos. And I didn't even learn them all because there's actually quite a few of them. I just kind of played around with the ones I liked. And there was like maybe 3 to 5 that I used frequently. Um, but yeah, it's somewhat unique, I suppose. But I just kind of equated a bit to kind of like an action RPG, but hard. Because I'm sure in general action RPG you could probably put it on a hard difficulty and get the same kind of feel. But I always play shit on easy, and even this on easy was a bit of a challenge. Whereas like Rise of the Ronin, for example, you throw that shit on easy and it's a cakewalk. But I'm sure if you crank that stuff up, it'd probably give you quite a bit of a challenge as well. But yeah, if you're not vibing with the combat, I totally understand. It's I do kind of see where you're coming from with like where uh what it's trying to be kind of thing. Um but yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I had a great time with it myself. Like, I think in terms of trying to find a game to compare it to, in terms of how it feels, I think the closest thing to me would be Final Fantasy 16, but just like with a harder learning curve. Um, but with that being said, like 16, obviously you get a bit more customizability in terms of the icon abilities. But like with this, like there is stuff, yeah, like Anthony said, you've yet to unlock. But yeah, no, that's the thing. Like it's definitely like not a game that would necessarily be for everybody. I really did enjoy it. Like obviously went for the platinum. I had no problem doing that second new game plus to get it. But yeah, no, you shouldn't. Yeah, like I wouldn't stress it. Like I would say, like I'm trying to think what would be a good threshold, Anthony, for like maybe for to say like if you could try to like commit to here, and then like if you're not vibing with it, like just call it.
I don't remember how far into it, but my suggestion would be how do I say this with spoilers? Maybe I could say it and you wouldn't understand what it is. I'll just say a name. Maybe the Taki stuff.
Okay,
You know what I'm referring
where it
to?
gets to like where it changes up the gameplay a little bit, or
Yeah, you get an additional function
yeah.
to your tool set of like things you can do in combat.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, if
On top of things you will unlock in your skill tree. Basically, the thing I'm referring to is a totally new skill tree that when you view your skill trees, it just shows as locked and you can't see what it is. I won't say what it is or how to get it, but um, that could be because I use the crap out of that. But I just don't remember how far into how many hours it was because I'm not going to be the guy to sit here and be like, oh, well, like put like 10 hours into the game and then you'll like, you know what I mean? I can't remember how
yeah,
many hours it was to get there or not. Like it might have been like,
It could be quick, having done the second playthrough like fast, but just mainlining. But it is one of those things where like getting sidetracked with side stuff. It could be like 10, 15 hours depending on how much like you go into depth for like the side stuff. So it is tricky in that sense to kind of pinpoint it. But
yeah,
yeah, if you're not like vibing with it, honestly, like there have been games where like I didn't vibe with when I picked them up, and I just came back to them a couple years later, and then it was just like like John, what you kind of alluded to. It's just like it's not necessarily the right time for you at the same time. Like you're not vibing with it, and it just might not be the right time for you.
True enough.
All right. Any final thoughts before we move on?
She got a booty.
All right. Next up, Black Myth Wukong. Finally get the platinum. I was telling John this when we were waiting for everyone to join the lobby yesterday. I came across something unfortunate in my new game plus where like I was one trophy away from the platinum. I needed one armor piece, and the armor piece was tied to a hidden boss that I've killed twice, but like you have to do something specific to that boss to get the armor piece to drop. And when you kill a boss, like that's it for that playthrough. So I had to like go into New Game Plus Plus and then get all the way to that boss who is located in chapter 4. So I just basically I did like a speed run, just basically going from like the bosses that I had to do. And like what I will say is like in each New Game Plus, the health bars for the enemies seem to get tougher, and like the damage they do seem to be more. So it's not like you start to get overpowered, but like it balances out at certain points. I love the game. I think all said and done, after getting the platinum, the PlayStation said I had 75 hours logged into it. One of the most annoying boss fights I've ever experienced was in this game. He was kind of a bit of an asshole. So to get, without going too spoilery, to get the secret ending, you have to kill a certain boss. And I went to fight him, and he kept kicking my ass. Just like I kept struggling. So finally, like I looked up a level farm to see, like, okay, can I cheese something? I found a decent cheese, and then I did my anime training arc in a cave. I went up like 40, 45 levels. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and then I fought him, and I still just barely fucking beat the asshole. Like, because like some of my abilities, like the move where you freeze somebody, he just like breaks out of it like immediately. You'll go to do a charge attack, you'll like hold it and you go, and the guy just dodges out of the fucking way of it. And then I'll transform into like my monster, and he'll have attacks that just one hit kill a monster, and you lose the transformation. Like it was definitely a challenging fight. What happens after that is pure fucking cinema, and it was absolutely worth the stress and pain of it. But yeah, no, I really dug Black Myth Wukong. I highly recommend it to anyone who's thinking of checking it out. One of the cool things is with the system they have in place, each time you beat a chapter, there are these 6 spots called relics. So each time you beat a chapter, you can pick one of 3 relic bonuses. But when you go into New Game Plus, they remain your choices from the first run, but you can then pick from each chapter the second relic bonus. And then when I was in the third one, it was like me pick the third. So like essentially, you can max out all these relic bonuses with the multiple playthroughs, and there's no cap on your level. So like there's a lot of skill tree shit in this game, to the point where I think when I got the platinum, I was like 260, level 260. I was still nowhere near having everything unlocked for skill trees wise and shit. So like there is a lot to chase, which is pretty cool. That being said, John, what are your thoughts on Black Myth Wukong?
Their biggest mistake was not making a physical copy of this game. And even though apparently there is going to be a physical copy, it's going to be like a empty case with like a game code in it, which I don't vibe with. It is something that I would play. Like it looks fantastic. The whole like mythology is something I'm into. But now it's just gonna have to wait until like it goes on sale or something. Because when I went to, and I don't want to say like, because GameStop is like a big company and stuff, and I'm after this money is all gone, I'm not going back to GameStop. I asked them, like, because I didn't know there was no physical copy. I was like, oh, can I get a copy of Black Myth? And they're like, no, there's no copy. Kind of like threw me off. Kind of like I was like, well, now I guess I'll just let this money sit and I'll pick up anything. And that's when I ended up picking up Stellar Blade. If this game ever gets a physical release, yes, I'll get it. If it ever goes on sale, digital, yes, I'll get it. I do like what you just said about like how you can get those bonuses by playing through multiple times, because much like a Souls game, like it's something that I will play through multiple times. And this game seems soulsy. I want to say soulsy enough for me. Yeah, eventually I'll get it, but it's gonna be on sale.
I will say it was very Elden Ring like in the sense with like there are side quests you can do, but there's no menu or tracking of the side quest. It's specifically like unless you're using a guide, which like my second playthrough I had to use a guide to like clear up the couple side quests that I missed. Like you have to pay attention to what you're being told. Which if you're for some reason you aren't paying attention, you can go back to that NPC and just talk to him again and then repeat the last bit of information that's kind of crucial. So it reminded me of Elden Ring in that sense where like a lot of the side mission shit, like I wasn't even sure if I was doing the right thing until I came across it. But yeah, that being said, Anthony, what are your thoughts on Black Myth Wukong?
It's something I think I'd try. I think all the clips I've seen look really cool. The boss fights look really cool. The fact that it's somewhat adjacent to a Souls-like, I'm assuming difficulty-wise, maybe not as difficult, but up there. But the thing with like there's no map and stuff like that, like it does make me a little hesitant, but not enough that I would never play it. Just enough that I would probably want to wait till it's at a sale point where like if I did buy it and didn't like it, that I wouldn't feel like I wasted my money. I'm talking like probably like half off, unfortunately. Just because yeah, I do get frustrated. Like the problem is with like I'm much better these days about with than how I used to be, but I'm still not great with like getting frustrated with the game and then just stop playing it. And I just feel like I would be really annoyed if like I wasn't sure where to go, and then I just like I don't know. Uh, but yeah, it's not something I wouldn't not play. Wait, what? I would definitely try it at some point. The price would just need to be right, I think,
No, that's fair.
and the timing too, right? Like we got that's the thing. Like there's so many different types of genres releasing all so close to each other in the next like several months that it's if it's not a game that I'm willing to buy day one right now, like the time slot for me to put it in, even with games I am definitely interested in picking up on sale, like even then I'm like I don't know if I'm gonna if it goes on sale because I don't know if I'll have the time to play it. So maybe early next year, coming out of Christmas, depending on what kind of sales we see.
No, that's totally fair. Any final thoughts on Black Myth before we move on? All right, so you boys have revisited the world of Valheim and playing that. John, where are you at with Valheim?
I have to say, we getting back into it kind of like led me to how it is a very small development team. I can't remember how many people it is. I think it's like only a few people. But how I don't want to say it without like I don't want to piss people off, but it's kind of sloppy. Like the building mechanics fine. The exploration and collecting and crafting, that's all fine. But when it comes down to the boss fights, more specifically, I can't what was the boss's name, Anthony? I don't know. It's the latest boss.
I
It's
forget.
like big old poison
The
dragon guy.
Ashlands boss.
Yeah, Ashland's boss. And it just feels like they're like, oh, he can spam this attack over and over again, like just to make this fight harder. But it didn't. It's not fair. Like it's difficult, yeah, but it's like literally unfair. Like he does this one stompy attack that like has this huge AoE of like stalactites like come out of the ground and just basically one hit you if you don't have the right like setup. And he does it over and over and over again. You can't even get close to him for more than like a second. He kind of calmed down when Sean stopped using the summons. I think that like made him do it more, but it was still like he was still doing it a lot, and it was just like it was just frustrating. It wasn't fun. I'm hoping they realize that and eventually they'll like nerf the boss a bit. But their updates do take a long time, so I can't see it in the foreseeable future, but maybe by the next big patch they'll have it all sorted out. But it's still a fun game. It's still a nice like social game to play. I'm still playing it on my own a little bit here and there just to like collect and stuff. But I mean, Sean pretty much gave us gave us everything, so there's nothing really to like work towards. Yeah, I'll still play it on my own. It's still a nice like relaxing game, like for building and crafting and stuff. So
That's fair. Yeah, at least you have that ability to like, if you want, like you can play it casually like that and ignore like those hard bosses and just kind of like do your own thing. So it's kind of cool in that sense because it gives you like two different completely experiences almost. Anthony,
I just want to say before we go to Anthony, we did end up beating the boss, but I'll let Anthony explain. He'll probably end up talking about it.
Anthony, how's your time with Valheim been?
Yeah, the thing with Valheim I find is like even though I have an interest in survival crafting games, this one aside from like probably like the first area or two, like it's just too difficult for someone like me. People who enjoy that, like obviously we know Sean definitely enjoys that mixed in with the survival crafting because this is his world we're playing on. Like he's done every biome, right? Every boss now. But what I did find with this game is even though so everything I just said more so applies to me solo but with Sean being so into it, I basically can leave all the material collecting because like we basically just join in and when we're with him, we're not doing any of the tedious parts of the survival crafting because Sean's done all that. We get to gear up and go on adventures, which is, we're not basically at that point we're playing the survival aspect, not the crafting. Well, I mean, I know John, you play more. Well, speaking more so for myself. Yeah, this we my favorite part, John, is we get in the game and Sean's like, okay, we'll show you. I'll give you guys like a brief tour. So he takes us through a portal to the Ashlands that he has somewhere. And then John had to be right back. So me and Sean are talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this like dwarf guy with the crossbow. He's on our team. He like protects my portal." And I was like, "Okay, so don't attack him." He's like, and then he was talking. He's like, "Well, I mean, maybe my summon might be able to kill him, but he's like, he'd probably fuck you up." And then John gets back, and then Sean's like, yeah, I'm gonna. I wonder if we should see if someone could kill the dwarf, and then John just turns and hits the dwarf, and Sean's like, "What are you doing?" And then the dwarf killed John. It's like, all right, we're starting the night off with a banger. It was so funny. But anyway, so we got all our stuff back, ready to go, and we're like, you know what, let's give Sean's talked about how insanely difficult this boss was. He's attempted it solo many times. He's like, this is impossible. And he's like, we won't be able to do it. And I'm like, well, and me and John were like, come on, let's just try. And it was many failed attempts. Many. I think I vaguely remember looking at the clock around when we started and then when we finished. And I'd clock in the whole run from when we started attempting him to when we beat him about 3 to 3.5 hours. And yeah, it was rough. That stalagmite spike thing. It was like the thing was we figured out at one point is when he does it, it like tracks to each player. So like I know I got fucked up once or twice where like I just happened to be in a bad spot. Like John and Sean were kind of in front of me running in the same direction as me, but I was behind them. So my spikes that were tracking me were coming at me, but the spikes tracking them were ahead of mine. So I was just consistently in spikes while I was running, like in their spike, and it was like it's so wide that I'm like if I wanted to like divert right to get out of it, I'd probably like no matter what I did, I was gonna die. It was just it's overpowered on its own. Maybe you could argue like even though it's a bit overpowered, the move on its own, you can work around it. You can figure out ways to mitigate the effects, the AoE, the space, like the direction. But the frequency, like John said, it was just unfair, like 100%. It was. I remember um, I would be like, okay, because he does this other meteor attack, and when he starts doing it, you have to just like run in a direction because they just if as long as you're moving, you don't get hit, right? So he would do that right after the spikes, and then the meteors would die down. I'm like, all right, I go to get close to him, I don't even get to him, and he does the spike attack again. Like, I would say at least a third of the entire 3.5 hours we spent fighting him, or at least the time within that 3.5 hours that we were fighting, at least a third of it, maybe even half, I spent running around. And there's a certain point where it's like, okay, this is getting a bit ridiculous. Um, but we came out on top and it was great. I mean, it felt great to kill him, but I definitely agree with what John said. Like, it did feel a bit unfair. I am looking forward to when we went to go plaster his face on the rock where all the boss heads are. Sean was like, "Oh, where's the Mistlands boss head?" And then he's like, "Oh, I must have like he had to roll his server back at one point, and I think he might have rolled it back too far. So now the boss is registered as not being killed. So we're probably gonna jump back in to go kill that boss at some point. He took us to kind of show us it, but it was pretty late. I was pretty tired. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna run away now." So I could go to bed. But yeah, I definitely really enjoy this game playing with you guys. I did play a decent amount myself, but I only did like the first area or two, and it got a bit exhausting. It reminded me of the early days of Minecraft when you'd play on like a harder difficulty, and then you'd fucking die and like drop all your shit, and it was just like really hard to yeah, like I don't know. As a single player game, it's not for me, but co-op, real fun time.
Yeah, for me, Valheim, I just couldn't get into. I just didn't really like that much. But I appreciate that you guys are continuing to have fun with it, revisiting it. Um, I'm kind of curious, Anthony, in terms of comparison, like which boss like was more bullshit with their mechanics, that boss or Uber Lilith?
Oh, Uber Lilith, 100%. John, did you ever fight Uber Lilith?
No,
So
no.
she did these choreographed attack patterns on the ground, but one, they were so fast that most of the time only certain classes could really get out of the way, but also the hitbox for these attacks exceeded the visual effect of the attack. So like you could visually be like, I'm not in the way of it, and you would die. Oh, they were one hit kill, by the way. There was like there might have been a way to mitigate that, but as far as I could see, even the OP builds that managed to do enough damage to kill her were still getting one hit if they got hit. The key was you had to kill her fast so that you didn't have to avoid them for as long. It was really the only way to beat her. I don't know how it is now with current metas, but in the like the pre-season release of the game, fucking ridiculous.
Even season one, because they nerfed all the powerful shit. It got even worse, right?
Oh
Because they
shit,
nerfed the
yeah.
powerful
Yeah.
shit and then they forced you to have to go level up a new character to be able to. But
Yeah,
she's bullshit.
this guy at the very least, like at least with a co-op aspect. I don't know about single player because you're the main focus of everything going on. But with 3 people and aggro being juggled with the attacks, if you chose a strategy of like not engaging as often, like very infrequently, you could arguably stay alive pretty long. It's just your damage would be shit because you basically, if you're doing melee, you'd only maybe get like literally 1 to 3 hits of your sword every like 3 minutes, or maybe 2.5. But yeah, with the Lilith one, it was like good luck staying alive more than like 10 seconds, unless you're like the right build to do it.
Next up, big week because we got the Sonic 3 trailer. December 20th release date. Ben Schwartz, Idris Elba, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, James Marsden, and Jim Carrey are returning. Jim Carrey is playing 2 roles, Dr. Robotnik and Gerald Robotnik. And the biggest and coolest thing about this movie is obviously that Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow the Hedgehog. John, how you feeling about the trailer?
I said it before and I'll say it again. Keanu Reeves was the perfect voice for Shadow. I love the trailer. It looks fucking awesome.
You're
Wait for the
no. You're is this intentional? I honestly don't even know.
What?
You're like all like blurry and you're all robotic, like all like
This whole time I'm watching Chris's screen, I'm like, is this me? What's happening?
It's I don't know what
We don't know what you're saying, John. We're so sorry.
Maybe you know what it might be. Hold on, let's see. Shit.
Oh, that killed me. Oh my god.
Media source. Let's just.
This is the game.
Am I good now?
Okay,
Yep.
Am I good?
You're
Okay. I think because I had the Valheim.
We're keeping all that.
I had like a 4-hour Valheim video playing, and I forgot to hit the close when it's not in use. Anyways, so I don't know how much you guys picked up of that. Probably
None.
nothing. Okay, perfect. So I said it before, and I'll say it again. Keanu is the perfect voice actor for Shadow the Hedgehog.
It was getting
Is it back?
robotic again.
Is it doing it again?
What is
What is
it's like
happening?
as soon as you say shadow, like Discord just like nukes itself.
Hold on. My God.
Oh,
What's using? It's using. Oh, it's my XSplit. I'm gonna
What's
close
that?
XSplit.
What does that do?
There we go. Better.
so far,
My-
say the word shadow.
My XSplit was using a lot.
Oh yeah, it's much better. Yeah.
Shadow.
There you
Shadow.
go.
Okay, so how much of that did you pick up? Because I want to start that all over again. Keanu is a perfect voice actor for Shadow. I really like the trailer. I thought it looks pretty cool. Can't wait for those action scenes. I mean, that's where Sonic, the second movie really stood out, was those action scenes. If it goes based off of Shadow's backstory, this movie, and you are a very sensitive person, expect to cry in the movie 100%. It's gonna be heartbreaking. Yeah, so Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is where Shadow is introduced, and that game, like, as cheerful and happy and rolling around at the speed, like, there is a lot of like dark backstory to Shadow, and a lot happens. So I don't want to spoil anything for a 20-year-old game, but like expect this movie to be a tearjerker.
Yeah,
Um,
I will say at the very least, sorry to cut you off, it is at least
You're
teased
good.
in the trailer that they might be going that way.
It is definitely going that way. Yeah. Anyways, I've said all I have to say. You guys, robotic or not, but yeah.
Anthony, did you end up checking out the trailer?
Yeah, I got it up right now, but I'm definitely interested. I might actually take Lincoln to go see this one because I didn't have much interest in the Sonic movies. No particular reason. Like I'm not like a big Sonic fan to some degree. I remember when I was a kid, I watched like I think it was Sonic Underground. I think it was called. It was like
Mhm.
Sonic Underground, which was cool. But and then Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Me and my buddy Dustin played the crap out of it when we were kids. Uh, Probably more time in the Chow Gardens than the actual game. Well, I mean, they kind of you got to get like the drivers and animals from the actual levels to level up. But yeah, so I was just I remember Lincoln was sitting with me. I was playing some video game like on my PC. I had my second monitor up, and I was like, "Oh, do you want me to put like a show on for you, like on this TV?" He's like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, "Oh, I had this website open with movies on it." I'm scrolling through, and he's like, "Oh, what's that?" It was one of the Sonic movies. I'm like, "Oh yeah, perfect. I'll throw it on." And it turned into like me stopping playing my game and me and him just sitting in computer chairs watching it on my second monitor. Next thing you know, we watched both movies, and they're actually really good. I know people already thought they were really good, but I was just impressed. Like you don't see them doing movies like this and them turning out this well. I feel like uh, I think Mario and these are kind of the main exceptions right now. Um, So yeah, I'm definitely gonna go to the movies. I think to see this one.
I would definitely be tagging along with you for that then. So,
Hell yeah!
yeah, no, I loved like the first and the second one. Like Knuckles has always been one of my favorite video game characters. So like seeing him in the second one and having Idris Elba play him, there's one thing you can't deny with the movies too is like they have just nailed the casting for these characters and all that. Like I love Ben Schwartz as Sonic. Jim Carrey as Robotnik has always just been so enjoyable to watch. I'm glad that
Oh yeah,
he's like canceled retirement twice now for Sonic movies. It's just like, but
dude,
you
I've
go.
I've like laughed out loud at several things that he does as Robotnik that just they are Jim Carrey. You know what I mean? That is like it's like yes, that's Robotnik, but that is Jim fucking Carrey, and I just love it.
Yeah, I also like genuinely really really enjoyed the Knuckles TV series. Like,
I haven't watched that yet.
oh,
Should watch that with Link.
it was a fun time. If anything, like John, did you ever end up watching it?
No, remember I stopped at the
Oh.
Cool of Ranch or Ranch of Cool or whatever.
Okay, so all right, it's been long enough that I think I talked about it to some extent in well, another episode, but yeah. So essentially, they give Knuckles his origin story in this show, but they do it as a Boosh episode, and like they have like Julian Barrett from like the Mighty Boosh, and like the episode is directed by Yarmouth Cone from like the Lonely Island, and like it was just like out of nowhere this episode hits, and like you get this like puppet musical number that is just like a fever dream of just hilarity, and it was I had a
Nice.
great time with that show. John, your camera's definitely still like acting up. It's
Yeah, my can you hear me? Can
yeah,
you hear
yeah,
me
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at my ping here. It is not. Oh, it just went up to 5,000.
It's over 9,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and hang on. We're
Okay.
gonna keep this going.
Let's keep them alive. All right. Any final thoughts on this before we move on? All right. Dualsense Edge PC App. Sony will now let players customize their Dualsense Edge controls on PC. The new accessories app for Windows lets you customize button assignments, change stick sensitivity, adjust trigger dead zones, and more. This replaces the firmware updater for DualSense wireless controllers app introduced in 2022. Uh, I think that's cool. I think it continues to show that Sony's like growing with like working with PC for like their products because like obviously we've been seeing a lot of their games get ported to the console or ported to like the PC systems. But yeah, no, it's not major news. It's a news that doesn't necessarily reflect you two right now, but I just thought it was like notable and cool to see. Anthony, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I think I mean, this wouldn't be like the defining factor, but I think like when the time comes, I was just talking to John earlier about PC upgrades, how I'm kind of due for one at some point, probably next year. When I do that, that will open. I said do. Um, when I when that happens, I'll have a PC that can run a lot more stuff, so I can pay a lot more attention to Steam sales because like I'm kind of limited at this point. Like I'm running a GTX 1050. It's just a little laptop. I'm primarily console gamer, so but I think at some point I need to upgrade. And with that being said, like that does add a few more eggs into the basket of if I do invest into a DualSense Edge, that there's more use case for it than just my console. Because then I can, there's tons of games on Steam that are controller compatible, especially games that I generally would want to play on there. So, and let's be honest, like Steam, PSN has some great sales, but I don't feel like no one really beats Steam's sales, So, if there's ever a game that I'm waiting for a sale on and I don't care about the trophies for it, and I can get it for $20 cheaper, then I could just use my DualSense Edge. I know I could probably use my DualSense, but like I said, this PC, like it's worth. I want to get one anyways at some point, because like this controller that here has drift, and I have two other ones, but who knows? They're gonna drift at some point, and then it's uh brand new controller. Whereas I don't know how much they cost to replace the DualSense Edge parts, but I imagine it's cheaper than a brand new controller. So.
It was, I believe, 24.99 Canadian for a replacement um analog stick. But like,
Okay.
and the benefit is like if I haven't experienced it yet with my Edge, but say you get drift on your left analog stick, they're universal. It's universal, so like it could be applied to either the left or the right, and you're not stuck into buying two when you only need one. So that's
Mm.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that this small news like you said, but it just means there's a little bit more reason for when I do decide to get one that I can have more use for it. So not now, but around the time when I do upgrade PC wise, I'll probably try and budget to get one of these as well for my PlayStation.
John, what are your thoughts on this?
Eventually I will pick up the DualSense Edge. That is, yeah. Eventually I will pick up the DualSense Edge. The price point is a little much for me. But yeah, it's a cool controller. It's kind of like not very useful for me at the moment, but yeah, it's something I'll look into in the future.
Yeah, totally fair. Yeah, honestly, it is a very hefty price point, but that being said, I fucking love that thing, man. Like it's just the flexibility of like those back triggers and just like the feel and like the build of it. It's a really quality product. Again, I think my only issue is I just wish eventually they would come with like a color variant that isn't white, like maybe black or something that just looks cleaner over time, right? Like no stains or anything like that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe ditch the like gloss finish
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
So next up, second last topic, Nintendo Direct plus partner preview. There were a lot of games shown. I'm gonna just list them off real quick. Coffee Talk Tokyo, Pico Park 2, Star Overdrive, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, Yakuza Kiwami, Atelier Lumia, The Alchemist of Memories, and Envision Land, Tetris Forever, Tales of Grace's F Remastered, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, Balatro, Friends of Jimbo, which is like packs that involve Witcher, Vampire Survivors, and Among Us, kind of like designs for the cards. Legends of Heroes, Trails in the Sky. The first is a huge remake. Castlevania Dominus Collection brings multiple DS games to Switch and other platforms. That was shadow dropped with the like that stream. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster arrives in March 2025. Anthony was both happy and upset with that news. I saw him react to that when he saw March 2025. He's like, "What the fuck?" My Sims officially revealed for Nintendo Switch. Neva, it is a game. That's not me just like saying My Sims officially revealed for Nintendo Switch. Neva, I didn't really think about that wording. Civilization 7, Power Wash Simulator, Shrek, which is probably the biggest news of that direct. Sea of Stars gets a DLC. Throes of the Watchmaker, Fitness Boxing 3, a personal trainer, SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game, Goat Simulator 3, Pizza Tower, Metal Slug Tactics, On Your Tail, Cuisinier, Europa, Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope DX, Wobbly Life, Peglin, Date Everything, Morsels, and Moth Cubit. A lot of shit that was quickly shown off. John, what's caught your eye?
I can't wait to play Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake on PlayStation 5. my Switch is just like decoration under my TV. I haven't even fucking looked at it. Yeah, cool. All these indie games and stuff. That's dope. But I'm glad they're still doing stuff, Nintendo, you know.
Are you gonna be cleaning Shrek swamps in Power Wash?
Yeah, on PC.
All right, Anthony, what's caught your attention? Like, what are you excited for?
Decent amount of things. I would start with probably obviously Suikoden 1 and 2. Couldn't come any sooner, I guess, but that's fine. I can wait. I mean, truth be told, I still do gotta play through this game here. So that's for anyone listening. That's Aiden Chronicles 100 Heroes. So I do have interest in that. I never played the second one, so I'll probably still play through the first one and then experience the second one for the first time. The Atelier game, I have some interest there. I never finished playing through the Riza series, which is really my first legitimate experience with the franchise, and I really enjoyed the time with it. It's just I jumped in around when the third one came out, so I had 3 games to play through. So I still kind of got to go back to those at some point. I have the first 2, so my interest in this one will kind of like I don't want to jump into this before. Like I really would rather finish the Riza series first, but there is interest there. The Rune Factory one really interests me. I was thinking about jumping into Rune Factory 4. I think it's on PS Plus Extra. But I think now I'm just gonna wait. Or actually, did they say a release date without? There's so much shit you just listed. I don't remember all the information. Let's see.
I want to say that was sometime this year.
But yeah, August 24, 2006. Okay, that's the wrong game. Okay. Well, either way, at some point, probably in the not too distant future. So I'm gonna hold off on jumping in Rune Factory 4 because this game actually looks really cool. And so it's definitely a step up from Rune Factory 4 because Rune Factory 4 is pretty old at this point. And then yeah, the Trails in the Sky or yeah, Trails. What was it?
Yeah, Trails in the Sky the first.
Yeah. I have interest in that for sure. I think I was telling you, Chris. Mark loves the Trails of Cold Steel series, and I've briefly tried to get into them. But just the functions with like a lot of things they share with like Persona. Not the biggest fan. Although I do still want to give that series a good attempt before I call it quits on it. But Trails in the Sky, like I remember playing it on PSP or some handheld, and it was really fun. So I have interest in that too. Uh, and then maybe the Dragon Quest game. I really haven't played any Dragon Quest game, so I don't know if that would be the best place to start, but it's an option. No, what would be a good place to start?
Start with the latest entry, the Dragon Quest. What was
11.
it? 11. Yeah,
I think
that
that's
one
on
is
PS Plus Extra, actually.
mwah, it is good. It is very good.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the majority of what I caught my eye. There might have been a small thing here or there, but not. I don't think enough for me to remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, for
Lots of it.
me, it was Trails in the Sky, the first remake. I'm definitely interested in the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake. I am interested in as well because that hit me with some nostalgia where I never really beat those games. I do remember playing them at like my cousin's house, so like it kind of similar to like Final Fantasy 7 where I never fully played it, but like there are memories tied to the game. So I'm kind of excited about that. I've never played any of the Suikoden games, but you've always like talked highly of the first one. So I actually do plan on giving at least the first one a try. Just like, especially like with like the remastered, like improved graphics, kind of get a feel for that. 100% playing Power Wash Simulator Shrek and blasting like the movie soundtrack on repeat as I play that.
Nice.
SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game, that could be shit, and I'm already in because it's Patrick Star. Uh, I hope Pizza Tower eventually makes its way to PlayStation because like that's like the Wario like game, and like it does look really really dope. Metal, like when the Switch successor comes out, Metal Slug Tactics would be one of the games I 100% end up picking up if it's like backwards compatible because like that is 100% right up my alley. Um, Date Everything scarred me when I watched that fucking stream. When all of a sudden there's this like pale white thing with like a white orb of a head,
Around
and you're
head.
like, "What the fuck am I looking at?" like, but yeah, no, like honestly, like they flew through a lot of stuff. I'll give them credit. Like it was a quick pace of things. The only issue is that when we watched it, like we went to they didn't have the videos tied together or whatever, and like we clicked on one half of it and we're like, oh, it's done already. But
Oh
then
yeah.
there's like it's really weird. But that being said, there's definitely some stuff that's interested me for sure, 100%. Um, yeah. Any final thoughts on this before we move on? All right, final topic of the show. What is your favorite PvP map in a video game? So Anthony, you're not really a PvP guy, but I'll let you go first to kind of see what you say.
Cauldron in Destiny 2. I'm just
Nice.
kidding. I fucking hate that.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was like, you know what? I'll say
Um,
nice because that's probably the only name he remembered, to be honest.
yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's so my experience in that the PvP aspect of games is so recent as far as my enjoyment in that aspect is so recent. I'd probably have to say like as weird as it is, it'd probably have to be the the map from Marvel Rivals with the goats. Or I guess that's one of the game options. I don't know if that's it on every
Oh, no,
map, but it
I'd say
seems.
that's a map because, like, I think that is that. I think that would be tied specifically to the Asgard. They might switch like the payload up for different maps. I could be wrong with that
Oh, okay.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's usually it was. I'm pretty sure it was almost always on the same map when we
yeah.
played. So, but it. I mean, the I love the destructible, like the environment can you can break the environment in places and like just the design and like uh yeah, I don't know. A lot of the maps in that game actually, I thought were really good. Just like the way we were able to hold down certain places, or like when we're on the defense with the payload, and just like the pinch points and stuff. It was I just as someone who like I barely even know what I'm talking about right now, but like it was noticeable like these certain points where it was like easy to have the advantage and not, and it never felt like the map was playing against us in on that map, and most of those maps really. I guess the best, yeah, I don't know. My as you said, I don't really have much experience here, but I did really enjoy those maps.
Nice.
The
Oh,
game, yeah, the
that's
game in general.
that's definitely a solid pick. Definitely a solid pick. John, what is your favorite PvP map?
Um, kind of on topic with what Anthony was talking about, but Overwatch, it's probably Ilios. More specifically, the one with the giant pit in the middle, that you can that you can just launch people in with like Zarya, or like pull people in with Roadhog. I love that map a lot. Um, it was a toss up between that one and Valhalla or Guardian from Halo 2 or Halo 3. Halo 3, yeah. Because Valhalla is cool. It's like a big map with vehicles and stuff, and you can snipe and you can get up close. And but yeah, no, I'll have to go with Ilios from Overwatch. I hope I'm saying that right. Ilios. Just it's a lot of fun. It's a fun map.
Well, if you're not saying it right, I'm definitely not the person to correct you on it because I have no idea. All right. Yeah. So for mine, I went with firing range from Call of Duty Black Ops One. I think Black Ops One to this day is probably one of the best games in terms of original PvP maps. Like there are a lot of iconic maps that will kind of like go over your head, Anthony. One you'll probably be familiar with, like Nuketown, which has been like reused in like almost every Call of Duty since. But like you had that, you had Summit. They did DLC packs, which there was like a paintball stadium. I'm pretty sure as a map. There was drive-in movie theater. There was a golf course. Like they had a really good variety with maps, but like with the base game, I really dug firing range just because it's straightforward, simple. Like you had a couple trailers. There's like a watchtower. There's like a little compound you could go in. It was one of my favorite maps to play, and like Black Ops One is definitely one of my most played games of all time. Like I remember like with that game, whenever they would do double XP weekends from Friday to like Sunday night when it ended, I would just play those nonstop PvP. Yeah, that is easily for sure my favorite. All right. That being said, we've said our piece with PvP
Hold on.
maps. Oh,
I want to ask you one thing before. If you had to pick out of the maps that we played in Black Ops 6 beta, which one so far has been your favorite? I'm gonna say mine is either I think mine is Scud. I like that map a lot. It's like chaotic, but it's a lot of fun.
I like that. I forget the name of it. The Pentos one with the
Oh,
pool.
Skyline.
Yep, Skyline. I like it just because I like the little things they added to it with like the security system shutting down doors. And then the one room we were holding up with Sean as the VIP, the bunker and all that. Like Anthony, there's like on the map, there's a bookcase and you go up to it and you press the button and it moves and reveals the hidden area. So like the only way to get in is through that door or like a vent down below. So it's like a point where you can kind of like somewhat control when they're coming at you, but like I really appreciated like the design of it, and what I liked is it. Is
Stop.
anyone here? Oh. I didn't see like a initial reaction for YouTube. I'm like, is that on my end? I'm like, but it has kind of like the traditional like 3-lane setup that Call of Duty maps have had in the past. Like you have your like left side going through the building on the bottom floor. You have the right side going through like the kitchen area, and then you have like the middle, which is like the balcony, like and like the top floor of the building and stuff like that. It's a really well designed map, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah, it is an awesome map.
All right. That I wonder if there's going to be any music playing when I go to do some outros. Has been another successful episode of the Guy Pie Podcast. I'm Chris. That's Anthony. And
See you.
that is John.
How's my microphone sound? Do I sound okay?
Yeah, it sound
Okay.
You sound like a robot, like Mr. Robot.
and that's a wipe.